Gladiators were among the most striking figures of ancient Rome. They lived short, brutal lives, and for many, their deaths came before cheering crowds in the amphitheater. But what happened to them after the fighting stopped, when the sand was cleared and the people went home? The answer depended largely on who the gladiator was. Some were slaves or criminals forced into the arena, while others were free men who chose the profession. This difference often shaped their fate in death. For gladiators who earned fame or respect, there was honor. Archaeologists have uncovered tombstones and graves that belonged to fallen fighters. These stones were often decorated with carvings of helmets, shields, or palm branches, symbols of their victories. In some cases, their comrades from the same gladiator school, known as a familia, pooled money together to give their friend a proper burial. Wealthy patrons or admirers sometimes did the same. But for most gladiators, especially those without wealth or reputation, the reality was much harsher. Their bodies were usually removed quickly from the arena, stripped of equipment, and treated as little more than waste. Many were buried in common graves outside city walls, often without a marker or ceremony. There were also practical uses for the bodies. Roman doctors, such as Galen, studied the remains of gladiators to better understand the human body. Meanwhile, Roman beliefs gave rise to strange practices. Some people thought drinking gladiator blood could cure epilepsy or that their flesh contained healing powers. This meant that even in death, gladiators were exploited for the benefit of others. Gladiators were celebrated in life for their courage and strength, but in death, most were forgotten, their remains handled with little dignity, except for the few who won fame or the loyalty of their peers. The story of gladiators does not end in the arena. Their fate in death reflected the values of Roman society, where spectacle, superstition, and practicality were tightly woven together. For the Romans, the gladiator was both admired and despised. He could be seen as a hero in the arena, yet in death, he was often treated as disposable. This contradiction reveals much about Roman culture. Some gladiators, the lucky few, were honored with proper burials. Inscriptions found on tombstones show their names, the number of battles they fought, and symbols of their profession. These memorials allowed them to be remembered as men of courage, not just as slaves or criminals. But the vast majority were not remembered at all. Their bodies were cleared from the arena quickly, buried without dignity, or used for practical purposes. Medical schools dissected their remains for study, while superstitions kept the belief alive that gladiator blood and organs carried healing power. Such practices were not seen as cruelty but as part of Rome's pragmatic approach to life and death. The gladiators' fate also reflected the social divide of Rome. Wealthy citizens could afford grand funerals, marble tombs, and legacy. The gladiator, unless he achieved rare fame, was denied such honors. His body served as a resource, for science, for ritual, or simply as waste. And yet, despite this harsh reality, gladiators left a mark that even death could not erase. They became symbols of strength, resilience, and sacrifice. In modern times, their legacy is far greater than the neglect many of them suffered in the past. Today, through archaeology and history, the truth is clear: gladiators were men who lived short, brutal lives, and in death, they reflected the brutal but fascinating world of ancient Rome itself.